bringing you news and information from around the Pacific Command. This is your AFN Pacific Report. Thanks for joining us for this edition of your AFN Pacific Report. I'm Air Force Master Sergeant Michael Brogan. With the 2012 presidential election now in the history books, Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta says the Defense Department remains squarely focused on the mission of national defense. In a message addressed to the department's military and civilian workforce, the Secretary says DoD personnel should take heart in the American people's strong support for the millions of men and women in uniform. Secretary Panetta urged members of the DoD to keep fighting for a safer and stronger future for the United States and to ensure the U.S. always remains a government of, by, and for all people. Speaking of the presidential election, a group of Japanese students spent Election Day at the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo, seeing firsthand democracy in action.
The decorations and booths are up, and the candidates are ready. It's Election Day in the U.S., and while many crowds are gathered together to celebrate, one group of students are assembled thousands of miles away from the shores of America to vote in their own way.
We're basically like doing this mini election in Japan, but it's on Romney and Barack Obama.
The U.S. Embassy hosted a mock election in order to bring the U.S. and Japan closer together, teach the political process of American voting, and introduce young minds to the importance of the ballot.
One of the things that you will find when they begin to break down the vote in the United States is what a critical, important role the young people in the United States played in the outcome of this election.
And who did the students vote for?
Well, I voted for Romney.
Mr. Obama.
Obama.
As you can see all around me, this entire room is full of press and students as the anticipation of the final election draws near.
The final student vote tallied 82 for Obama and 12 for Romney. As the U.S. election came to a close and the president was announced, 200 Japanese high school and college students celebrated the re-election of President Obama, while on the other side of the world, Americans danced in the streets of New York. Senior Airman Sarah Bryce, Tokyo, Japan.
Also in Japan, for 1 week, the sky above Yokota Air Base was filled with a rather unusual sight. Army Special Forces paratroopers leaping from Air Force C-130 aircraft. Airman Trace Garnier explains why.
So this week's Jump Week, we partner up with different units, and this week it's Army Special Forces. We'll be dropping them a couple times this week so that they get their currencies, their jump currencies, and we get to practice dropping real people.
Starting out for the mission.
A lot of what you'll see today is briefings to make sure that everyone's on the same page, air crew and jumpers, as far as what's going to happen.
Seconds plus or minus 75 yards. So
it's practicing for a real-world mission that we trained for. The C-130s were designed in part to drop paratroops. It keeps their skills up in case they ever have to do it, and for us, because we could potentially be the ones inserting them in a real combat operation.
As long as I can remember, I've always wanted to jump out of airplanes, and I joined the Army. I said I want to be guaranteed to jump out of airplanes, and they gave me the perfect job, parachute rigger.
It's dark and spacing is limited, but all the paratroopers are squeezed together, buckled up, and ready to go.
Yeah, full 20s and 10s.
Before takeoff, the pilots explain their mission objectives in a pre-flight briefing.
We do our best to drop them exactly where they want to be. Here, we're on an airfield, so there's a lot of room here, but heaven forbid if they land off base, there's buildings, there's trees, there's all sorts of risks. We could drop them places they don't want to be.
Now that they've discussed where to drop the paratroopers, it's time for takeoff.
Minimize the risk. Once we have them off the static lines, we'd like to keep them.
Following a 20-minute pre-jump checklist, paratroopers do what they came to do. Jump out of the plane.
First time I jumped, it was scary, and all I could do was just look and pray and hope until it opened. And then it opened, and it was great.
Lieutenant Kelly and his crew accomplished their mission. Paratroopers are landing on target as Jump Week comes to a close. I'm Airman First Class Trace Garnier, Yokota Air Base, Japan.
Veterinary technicians at Misawa Air Base not only take care of the military working dogs, they also train their handlers. At their most recent monthly training group, the vet techs taught the handlers basic first aid.
Military working dog handlers and their canine partners are exposed to the same dangers: IEDs, direct and indirect fire. In those situations, handlers need to be able to care for themselves as well as their partners. Soldiers assigned to the veterinary clinic at Misawa Air Base prepare them for potential injuries.
We build training aids like we did to help make it as realistic as possible so that they know they can mess up on the fake dog and not have to feel bad about it. So it gives them that training opportunity to really get their hands into it and learn the proper techniques without having that stressor in their head saying like, oh, I'm gonna hurt my dog. We provide the training because it's one of our duties as a veterinary technician in the Army is to ensure that our working dog handlers are properly trained in first aid and the care of their dogs.
The goal of every veterinary technician is the welfare of the military working dogs.
We're here for the military working dogs. This is our job. This is our mission. In situations downrange, a lot of these dog handlers are put in situations where they could be in harm's way, and if their dogs are injured, they'll know how to recognize the different wounds and how to treat them.
Seaman Lisa Reese, Misawa Air Base, Japan.
Coming up, soldiers take part in a celebration of citizenship in Korea. But first, let's take a look around the Pacific Command with today's snapshots.
USS Jacksonville departs Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam for a deployment to the Western Pacific region. A sailor performs flight operations aboard the guided missile destroyer USS Mustin on the Philippine Sea. Airmen fill a C-130 Hercules liquid oxygen tanks prior to takeoff at Yokota Air Base, Japan. And that's a look around the Pacific Command in today's Snapshots.
Soldiers in Korea assigned to the 2ID got a chance to witness how a city near Camp Casey recognized its citizens during a special ceremony.
More than 300 local civilians, 2ID soldiers, and family members celebrated the 32nd Dongducheon Citizens Day at the Dongducheon Citizens Hall, recognizing the hard work of their citizens. 210th Fire Brigade Deputy Commanding Officer Lieutenant Colonel Shane Mullins enjoyed seeing the citizens rewarded for their hard work.
I think it was a great event. I wish I could come to more of these. It happens once a year. Of course, it's our 32nd time. But really, it's Mayor O and the city council members. They all recognize the hard work that everyone's put forth this entire year.
More than 40 citizens received a medal and appreciation certificate from Mayor Oh Se-chung for their remarkable contributions to the city's development.
I hope today's event is a great start to build the prideful city of Dongducheon and also provides an opportunity for community members to live in harmony. Thank you all of you who are here today.
And Colonel Mullins points out the importance of this event.
Well, it's too often those folks that do a great job are really in the background and left behind, and too often we don't thank those that are doing good jobs behind the scene.
Thanks to those citizens who worked hard behind the scenes to make the city of Dongducheon and the Camp Casey community better for local civilians, 2ID soldiers, and their family members. Katusa Corporal Young-Suk Do, Camp Casey, Korea.
Staying on the peninsula, Americans and Koreans gathered one sunny fall morning at Camp Walker to kick off a 3-day golf tournament. There was a bigger goal than dropping a ball in a cup, and it had to do with education.
The Daegu chapter of the Association of the United States Army held its 26th annual Good Neighbor Golf Tournament on Camp Walker. The tournament allowed for Americans to meet with their Korean neighbors and raise funds for scholarships.
Today it was all about playing golf, learning their culture, and for soldiers to relax and have a good day on a Friday. Real good.
The tournament was made up of 15 teams consisting of 4 players each. Several hundred people attended the tournament.
The money usually during the tournament, many Korean, almost 300 Korean participate, and many people, they graciously donate the money we generate through this tournament will be used for American soldiers and their families' scholarship.
The tournament also featured games like chipping and putting shoot-offs.
I think they really get into it. You can tell by the turnout and how many of them sign up, and you know how many of them just come out to watch, and you see them on the course as well, riding around as well. So I think they really get into the partnership and everybody, both cultures enjoying the game.
Specialist Jacob Lonick, Camp Walker, Korea.
We stay in Korea to wrap up this newscast with the United Nations Day observance in Busan, dedicated to those lost during the Korean War.
The city of Busan celebrated the 67th United Nations Day with a ceremony to honor the lives lost in the Korean War. The ceremony took place at the UN Memorial Cemetery, where service members and family members gathered from all over the world.
It was an honor to lay a wreath in honor of all those who lost their lives in the Korean War, but also, of course, to honor our U.S. service members who lost their lives, over 35,000.
But behind the pomp and circumstance of the ceremony, some guests experienced a more personal journey.
It's been a gift to me to be able to come to Busan, where my older brother's name is on a wall of remembrance. This is my brother, Robert John Moore. He was in the Navy and he was lost on July 20th, 1951. I was just an infant then, so I come to represent the family to honor his memory. It's like for the first time in my life, I will be able to talk to him.
Specialist Sarah Herring, Busan, Korea.
That's it for this newscast. From all of us here at AFN Pacific, thanks for watching.